Today, we're going to talk about this Brady Bowman draft card that is sort of doing the rounds in the last few days within the hobby, with people being quite upset with the fact that the card itself is Photoshopped. Now, I would assume most people that are watching this video know exactly what I'm talking about, but rather than sort of join in on the complaints around this, I thought it would be good to maybe take a back step and try and understand where these grievances are coming from people, because essentially if you go on social media, everybody essentially is saying that Topps has done some, incredibly heinous things here. And whilst I'm unhappy with how they've gone about it, there's a few things that I want to talk to that might indicate why people can be justified feeling the way they do about this specific card. In summary, I think it's sort of like a melting pot of all these things that have sort of gone wrong, and this is people's outlet. But I want to try and break that down a little bit today to sort of see if you guys agree with me, and then also share your thoughts down below. But like I said, this sort of card came, out of the blue by Topps. It was a hugely hyped up thing to be released within the 2023 Bowman draft set. And what has since come to light is the fact that it is a photoshopped card of Darren Fletcher. Now, this is interesting because the Photoshop itself looks poorly done, right? It's literally just taking the existing Darren Fletcher card that I'll put on screen right now and essentially photoshopping Brady's young portrait on there. Now, many people like myself thought that this was a Photoshop, because if you go back to the original sell sheet that I can't find the commentary around, but Topps had some wording about reimagining, a young Tom Brady. So it sort of had wording in there around the fact that a Photoshop did occur. But what has essentially happened is they've literally just stuck a young Tom Brady's head on this existing card. Whereas we probably thought maybe they Photoshopped the jersey on a young Brady. Maybe they did something else. Maybe they did a photo shoot and de-aged him. Maybe put a little bit of effort in. And it doesn't look like that's the case. So people have sort of seen that and have blown up at Topps. But whilst people are maybe slightly silly to be super naive that photoshopping is new to the hobby, because we've seen this happen consistently all the way back to pre-war cards. And I'll put some things on screen now that have some examples that were discussed on Twitter in the last few days. I think it's, the way it's gone down, because Topps essentially made this sort of like a flagship hit within this product, right? They made it like it was this huge deal. They essentially created an ad for TV specifically for Brady and this card. They made it out, like I said, like it was this incredibly amazing thing for the hobby, and people are, I guess, been caught off guard by the fact that it was a poor Photoshop attempt. And I think people are frustrated because they've sort of seen all this stuff that's going on. They've seen Brady advertise it. They've seen this commercial. They've seen celebrities get behind it. They've seen these big influencers from a sports card space push this. They've gone ahead and seen the auction on Golden, which again is odd because it was a single auction just for this one specific card, which is not something you see really post-boom. And it's all this stuff in combination to then have this thing be what it is. And people are like, what the heck is going on? This is ridiculous. What are you doing, Topps? It's basically the end of the world, essentially. And, just on face value, if you're looking at it as a Photoshop, it's like, guys, yes, we can be unhappy about this because it's a poor Photoshop attempt. Like I said myself, I think they should have done better. I think I said this in a few tweets as well. But in of itself, it's not that big of a deal. But it's sort of like, well, everything else that's going on with how this product was pushed, I can understand why people are maybe feeling the way that they are. And I also look at this through the lens of, are people sort of getting super upset because of how it was pushed, and it's a bit gimmicky in the sense of what it meant for this specific product, or that advertising, all that kind of stuff? Are they concerned that maybe this is the new trend from Topps? Is this like a step that maybe Topps is going to do and be more consistent with their approach? Are they going to do other gimmicks like this and make it a big deal, but then do a pretty poor effort with how they go ahead and make the card in the first place, right? Maybe that's what, people are sort of getting a bit upset about. That's why I said at the very start, I think it's sort of like a bit of a melting pot, in the sense that all those other things have gone on. This is their outlet. This is the thing that sort of broke the camel's back, because let's not forget that people have had, a lot of issues with Topps in the last 6 to 12 months with, things like backdoored cards, duplicate cards, issues with product releases, issues with changes in pricing, issues with how they've advertised certain products where it's not true to what the product actually contains itself, reducing packs within, certain boxes. And whilst they've fixed some of those things as they've gone along, people have seen all that sort of stuff happen and be like, again, what are you guys doing? They're a bit uneasy. They're a bit on edge with how they feel about Topps, justifiably so. So again, they're sort of seeing something like this and it's like, well, hang on a minute. This is not good enough, because you guys came in, said you were going to do all this stuff better than Panini, and then they've gone ahead and done a Photoshop like this that is right up Panini's alley. Now, I will say this again, Panini have done some pretty poor jobs when it comes to Photoshops in recent years. And yes, Photoshops have been around in the hobby for a long time, but it goes to what I just said, basically, right? It's all those things in addition that have led up to this one particular thing. And, whilst Topps who have been super critical of it in recent months have done some good things, like with the buyback program, like with these debut patches, amongst other things. I can see why people are getting upset about this. And, I'm not against Topps, advertising something like this, creating something like this, because I think it's a good way to maybe get new participants within the hobby, branch out from the existing card collectors and get, more people excited, because it is kind of cool, right? To sort of reimagine Tom Brady potentially being a baseball player as opposed to being an NFL GOAT is kind of a cool, what if situation, a good maybe trip down memory lane to an extent as well. So I can sort of get excited about them wanting to advertise that, wanting to design that, wanting to do it from that perspective. But again, is this going to become the new gimmick? Are we going to see more of this? And I think that's also playing in the back of people's minds. They're seeing this sort of stuff happen in real time. They're seeing all these issues, and then they're sort of saying, well, hang on a minute. You guys said it was this super amazing thing. You made it a flagship within your product. You basically made this thing be the thing to chase. You got all these influencers to be super excited about it. And the next minute, you only Photoshop the guy's head on a body. Like, could you have put a bit more effort in? And I think that's where, like I said, I'm repeating myself now, people feel like they've been let down. So, I'm really keen to hear what you guys have to say down in the comments below, because, like I said, on face value, Photoshops happen often. I can understand why people think they've been defrauded in this situation. They've been taken advantage of, given everything else that's happened in and around this card. But again, people need to understand that this sort of stuff happens. And I don't want to say that makes it okay, but I can understand where people are coming from. And I think most people can when you look at it through that lens. It's sort of like a melting pot. All this stuff has happened in and around this card to push this card up. Is that going to be the new norm? Is that going to be something we see consistently? And then they push it this hard, but then they put in minimal effort in terms of the product itself. And whilst the card is cool because it looks cool, I'll agree with that. I think I've said that before. The inscriptions are cool. I can see where people are coming from. So I've definitely repeated myself, a crap ton of times now, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. Please share it down below. Let me know if you think I'm off base. Let me know if you think I'm sort of on the right track with where I'm going. Like all these externalities, all these things, externalities being the wrong word, but all these things happening in and around it. I think that's why people are blown up about this card, because it's not the card itself, which maybe to an extent it would have been. It's amplified because of all these other BS, in and around it. So let me know your thoughts down below. Like I've said a few times now, I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.